Now we will discuss about transmission media. Transmission media is actually classified into two. One is wired and other is wireless. Wired is also known as guided wire or guided, wireless or unguided. Data transferred over the network is through some media classified into cables, satellites, and wireless. Two major classes: wire conducted or guided media uses conductor, e.g., wires or fiber optic cable to move the signal from the sender to the receiver. It is a dedicated link from the source to the destination. Energy is confined to the medium and guided by it. Wireless or unguided media use radio waves, electromagnetic waves of different frequency without a wire or a cable conductor to transmit signal. Energy spreads out and is not confined. So, as I have already discussed that wire media and wireless, then wired media is further divided into two: parallel and serial. The coaxial cable, that the cable TV communication in which you are doing by using coaxial cable. The TV, cable TV communication is a serial communication. If, as you know, that in coaxial cable you have only single wire or fiber optics. The data is traveled from the fiber, from the core of the fiber in the form of light. And parallel twisted pair are the Cat 6, Cat 7 cables, LAN cable net cables. You use mostly inside this twisted pair. Sometimes this twisted pair is shielded or unshielded, so we call it UTP and STP. And whenever you try to put a RJ45 connector, so when you uh, see inside this cable, you have 8 wires having different color codes. Wire has further types shown above. So this is serial communication in one dedicated wire or conductor. All the data is going to be traveled in a single wire. In parallel communication, we have multiple wires available and data is traveling on different wires in parallel communication, parallel data communication. So parallel wire media, also known as guided media, is a physical path between the transmitter and receiver, further categorized into parallel and serial, which means that a single cable having multiple lines and a cable with a single line. Multiple lines, we multi in a single cable, inside a single cable we have multiple lines, we call it parallel. And if it is a single wire inside, it is serial. So parallel cable may contain minimum 6 thin copper wires, of out of which 3 are colored and 3 are white. Nowadays we have 8. In cable net we are using Cat 7 and Cat 8 type of cables, and in Cat 7 nowadays we, instead of 6, we have 8 wires, 3 colored and 3 are and 3 are white, half white and half colored. Each colored one cross couples is twisted from form with a white wire. As I told you, that orange white is white wire is connected with orange. This is color combination green white blue. These are 2 wires. Green white means half white and half green, and another is full colored wire. Some wires are 4 wires are half white and half colored, and 4 wires are full colored. So we make the pair of one colored and one white wire. So if I give you one type of combination, this is uh, orange white orange, then green white is combined with blue, blue white is combined with green, and brown white is combined with brown color. So each colored one cross couple is in twisted form within a white wire. Further, these cables are divided into two, shielded and unshielded. The shielded is actually an alumni coating foil which prevents any sort of external distortion of strong signals and noises. It helps to reduce the noisy effects. Twisted pair, like we, in order to eliminate the noise effect, we twist them so that if there is a noise added in this way and the noise added in this way, these noisy effects are cancelled out. So this is the reason why we twist them. Advantages: inexpensive and readily available, flexible and lightweight, easy to work with and install. The tighter the twisting, the higher the supported transmission rate and greater the cost per foot. Can travel voice, video, and digital data types. So, okay, these wires you are using nowadays on cable net. So your cable net internet facilities are mostly, if it is you are using wired communication, so it is on these twisted pair wire basis. Each pair is twisted with a different number of twists per inch to help eliminate interference of the signals from the adjacent pairs and other electrical devices. Applications normally used in LAN networks, telephone network between house and local exchanges, subscriber loop within buildings to private branch exchange PBX and local area network. As I have discussed, data rates are 10 Mbps or 100 Mbps. Nowadays we have 1 GB, 1000 Mbps, we call it 1 Gbps. Twisted pair wires. Disadvantages: UTP is susceptible to interference and noise, such as to radio and electrical frequency. So, noises, such type of noises can be added in twisted pair wires. You can see I have discussed with you orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, white, brown. So these are the different combinations. So attenuation problem: signal dropping for analog repeaters needed every 5 to 6 kilometers, so that if signals is degraded, so after 5 to 6 kilometers we need repeaters so that signal can travel at the far distance till and easily reach to the destination without distortion, less amount of distortion and degradation. For digital repeaters need every 2 to 3. Since I have discussed earlier that analog signal can travel at far distance, so in analog repeaters need after 5 to 6 kilometers, and for digital data transmissions, repeaters need after every 2 to 3 kilometers. Relatively low bandwidth, 3000 hertz. So minimum bandwidth is like availability, the thickness of the road. The thicker will, more wider the road is, more number of vehicles can pass at a time. So relatively low bandwidth means 3000 hertz means that the data transfer travel rate or at a time. Shielded twisted pair STP is suitable for environment with electrical interference. There are two types of twisted pair: UTP, unshielded twisted pair. So so these are the disadvantages. Electrical frequency interference are more in unshielded twisted pair. So we can use, instead of unshielded twisted pair, shielded twisted pair. It is suitable for environment with electrical interference where electric wires are passing near about. So it helps to reduce such type of electrical noise interference when you are using shielded twisted pair. However, extra shielding can make the cables quite bulky. So wire becomes thicker and heavier. Shielded twisted pair is often used on network using token ring topology. This is a networking topology. When we have discussed the network topology over there, we have discussed a ring topology, mesh, star, bus, more expensive than unshielded. Obviously, shielded twisted pair wires are expensive than unshielded twisted pair. So, twisted pair connector, as I have discussed with you, if you are connecting, you are using cable net lane connector, then in LAN you use RJ45 connector, and in uh, telephones communication you use RJ11 connectors. The standard connector for unshielded twisted pair cabling is an RJ45 connector, plastic connector that similar to a large telephone style connector, special slots for RJ45 insertion. RJ stands for registered jack. But for the telephone lines, if you are not using cable net but you are using telephone type of jack, then you use RJ11 connector in telephone sets. Serial wires or cables contain only one medium or for transfer of data, normally a copper wire or a fiber optic. Some are slower than twisted pair and some are faster but suit according to need. Can transfer voice, video, and digital data types. Coaxial cable has a single copper conductor and it's at its center. A plastic layer provides insulation between the center conductor and a braided metal shield. The metal sheet helps to block any outside interference from fluorescent lights, motors, and other computers or any other noisy environmental noises. So you can see, you have seen this wire in your cable TV network, that there is when you there is an inside copper wire, then you have shield, different types of shield. So here you have copper or aluminum conductor, then insulating material, then shield braided wire, this one, and then your polythene outside jacket, this one. Has an inner conductor surrounded by a braided mesh. This is your braided mesh. Both conductors share a common central axle, hence the term coaxial cable. Coaxial. Advantages can be tapped easily, much less susceptible to interference than twisted pair because there is lot of cable outside shields available so that noise can be eliminated. Greater capable lengths between network devices than twisted pair cable. So less amount of repeaters and regenerators or amplifiers required because it is less susceptible to interference, so can can be taken from longer from data can be or signal can be traveled at the larger distance. Disadvantage: high attenuation rates, it expensive over long distances, bulky. But coaxial cabling is difficult to install. Now, applications, as I have discussed, mostly you have seen the aerial to TV or cable TV, long distance telephone transmission. You can also use this cable, can carry 10,000 voice calls simultaneously, being replaced by fiber optic. Fiber optic is more speedier than coaxial since over here data is traveled in optical fiber. Data is travel in the form of light, and light is the fastest available medium in the universe. Short distance computer system links, example local area networks, then you can use, but for very short, for the very short distance local area network. Thin coax Thin coaxial cable is also referred to as thin net, 10 base to 10 kilobits per second, very smaller transfer rate, baseband technology instead of broadband technology. It is a baseband technology. If you use it, thin coax, in your local area networks, it will not give you a very good communication speed. Maximum segment length being 200 meters, high attenuation, data transfer rate up to 200 Mbps. On the other hand, if you are using uh, shielded twisted pair or UTP unshielded twisted pair, you can carry 1000 Mbps, that is 1 Gbps of data. So it is very slower as compared to that. This is the reason why we never mostly do not use it in the cable networks or LAN local area networks. Thick coax cable is also referred to as thick net, low attenuation. Now this is the fastest available communication medium, consists of central glass core and clad. There are two three things. We have core, clad, and then we have shield, plastic shield outside the clad. So clad is actually a shield inside the clad we have core, and the data is traveled in from the core in the form of light. So consists of a central core surrounded by several layers of protective materials, transmit light rather than electronic signal, eliminating the problem of electrical interference, making it ideal for certain environment that contains a large amount of electrical interference. At present has become standard for connecting network between buildings due to its immunity to the effect of moisture and lighting. Has the ability to transmit signal over much longer distance than coaxial and twisted pair without any attenuation, as it is very fastest, so it can easily travel to very far distance, can carry information at vastly greater speeds. This capacity broadens the communication possibilities to include services such as video conferencing and interactive services. Cost of cabling is comparable to copper cabling, however, is more difficult to install and modify. It is very sensitive in handling, because if you handle it carelessly, it is easily broken. So it is difficult to install and modify, but it is very faster as compared to any other communication medium. 10 base F refers to the specification of fiber optics cable carrying Ethernet signals. 10 base fiber optics carrying the Ethernet signals. Fiber optics, you have plastic jackets, then clad. These two are the is to reduce the interference, any type of noisy effects, and this is the fiber core, and in which data is travel in the form of refraction. Ref- so facts about fiber optic cables. Facts about fiber optic cables are uh, made it's jackets, insulating jackets made of Teflon or PVC. Kevlar fiber strengthen the cable and prevent breakage, because as I told you that it is very uh, it is very difficult to handle, because without if you misuse it or handle it while deploying or modifying, it is easily broken. So in order to prevent it, we have Kevlar fiber helps to strengthen the cable, prevent breakage, the outside jackets and plastic coatings. is used to cushion the fiber center, and center core is made of glass or plastic fibers. Long haul trunks, metropolitan trunks, rural exchange trunks, and subscriber loops and lanes. So, as I have discussed with you, that from Pakistan to first world countries via from Pakistan to Dubai, we have inside a fiber cable has been deployed, and through in this way via Dubai we connect to the first world countries for the internet facilities and different other facilities. So advantages: great capacity, data rates of hundreds of Gbps, smaller size and lighter weight, lowest attenuation, electromagnetic isolation, immunity to environment interference, and highly secure due to tap difficulty and lack of signal radiation. Greater repeater spacings, tens of kilometer at least. At repeater, since the it is very the data can travel very fast. So after 10 to 12, 15 to 30 kilometers, then we have to use repeater spacings. So can be repeater devices can we can use over here as well, but at very far distance. This disadvantage is expensive over short distance, require special converters. Devices highly skilled installers are required. Any non-technical person cannot handle with fiber optic. So a skilled and trained person can only uh, deploy and modify any fiber optics networks. Adding additional nodes is difficult. In wireless, we have satellite communication and radio frequency communication. We also call it unguided because there is no dedicated link provided for the signal to travel from source to the destination. Satellite, a single orbital satellite, also known as satellite dish, is 15 times faster than standard cable and can carry massive loads of data. Example: weather forecast data, television transmission, uplinks, downlinks, mobile phone communication, internet communication, etc., all at one time. Can connect one country to another or one continent to another, fulfilling all its requirements. Large distance connections required space launched satellites, which further required line of sight. So there is a line of sight communication. Satellites, there are the three different orbits in which we can deploy the satellites, or you can say four: Leo, Meo, Geo, and Heo. There are four different orbits around the Earth in which we can use different types of satellites. That is low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, geographical Leo, Meo, geographical Earth orbit, Geo, and at the outermost there is high Earth orbit. So in different regions we use different number of satellites to cover the entire world. So Geo is the geographical Earth orbit, a global Earth orbit, a geographical Earth orbit. Uh, mostly we deploy our satellites in this orbit because in lower orbits, that is Meo and Leo, we need as more number of satellites to cover the entire world. But at geo level, we required three satellites having covering 120 degree. So in this way, 360 degree, the entire world can be covered by using three satellite foots. As one satellite foot cover 120 degree, approximately 120 degree of Earth. Normally orbit Earth above at 22,300 miles and are geostationary orbit. So this is the from the world Earth surface. The after 22,300 miles, you have this geo Earth orbit that is are rotated naturally with Earth gravitational force, and in this region, satellites are rotated with Earth gravitational force are highly accurate with zero attenuation dependent on weather condition. Extremely costly such that affordable only by highly developed nations. So very few nations in the world who have their own satellites. It's because it is very expensive, and it takes much more difficult to launch difficulties to launch a satellite. Radio frequency or microwave, you know that all our GPS or GSMs networks, mobile telephone networks, we use these frequencies, radio frequencies can carry different forms of data. Example, voice, video, digital data signals currently communicate cell phones, GPS, global positioning systems, local positioning systems, and transistor logic radios. Dependent upon laws, line of sight communication can cover far of distance depending upon the type of frequency, highest speed, and can transfer large amount of data. Each type of transmission device we have studied above requires any type of communication device. So we have already discussed that at after transmission media, at we need a communication device. For example, after cable net, cable shielded twisted pair cable, we have a communication device. For example, uh, LAN or modem or any other communication device which convert the data received from the media to the system and vice versa, while receiving and while transmitting, that is converted back to the transmission media mode. For example, LAN network cables, we need LAN cards. For fiber optics, we need special optic converter, etc. So here are some colorful. I have represented some colorful twisted pair UTP, STP wires. All these things I've already discussed with you. Now I will discuss with you network architecture. Architect network can be broadly classified as using either peer-to-peer or client-server architecture. Computers on a network are sometimes called nodes, PCs, devices, computers and devices that allocate resources for a network called servers. What is peer-to-peer architecture? Often referred to simply peer-to-peer or abbreviated P2P. Peer-to-peer architecture is a type of network in which each workstation has equivalent capabilities and responsibilities. This differs from client-server architecture, where some computers are dedicated to serving the others. Peer-to-peer networks are generally simpler, but they usually do not offer the same performance under heavy loads, because these are not for the heavy loads. Three or four students or three or four friends living near about can make any peer-to-peer network. So this is not for the many number of PCs working under a server, so that they can easily balance or bear the heavy loads. The P2P network itself relies on computing power at the ends of a connection rather than from within the network itself. P2P is often mistakenly used as term to describe one user linking with another user to transfer information and files through the use of common P2P client to download MP3s, videos, images, whatever they can share from one source to the other destination by their own in their own local area network, in which there is no server and no client concept. The person who is sharing other other is can avail those resources, and if second is sharing some resources, the first can avail those resources. So P2P client download MP3s, videos, images, games, and other software. This, however, is only one type of P2P networking. Generally, P2P networks are used for sharing files, but a P2P network can also mean grid computing or instant messaging. You want to communicate from source to destination, uh, from PCA to PCB. While in client server architecture is a network architecture in which each computer on the network is either a client or a server. Servers are powerful computer or processors dedicated to managing disk files, file servers, printers or printer servers, or network traffic controlling servers. Clients are PCs. Clients are the PCs which those PCs which can avail the facilities to provided to them by the dedicated servers. So those PCs or workstation work as a client of those servers on which users run applications. Clients rely on servers for resources such as files, devices, and even processing power. In peer-to-peer architecture, each node has equivalent responsibilities, but client server and peer-to-peer architecture are widely used. Both of them are widely used, and each has unique advantages and disadvantages. Client server architecture are sometimes called two-tier architecture because there is a server and a client. Network architecture, operating systems. So in these network architectures, different types of operating system we use as we use in our normal PCs, those in order to maintain the communication processes. So network architecture, operating system. Unlike operating systems such as Windows that are designed for single users to control one computer, network operating systems coordinate the activities of multiple computers across a network. The network operating system acts as a director to keep the network running smoothly. The two main types of network operating systems are the operating systems they are having for peer-to-peer or client-server architecture. Nearly all modern networks are a combination of both. The networking designs can be considered independent of the servers and workstation that will share it. So how peer-to-peer network operating system works? So peer-to-peer network operating system allows users, this is a peer-to-peer, that one PC can connect with other PC. This can connect with this and this. In a similar way, all PCs are connected with the all other by using cables, or sometimes you can say a wireless connection as well. So peer-to-peer network operating system allows user to share resources and files located on their computers and to access shared resources found on other computers. If this PC can share some resources, so any other PC can avail those resources. However, they do not have a file server or a centralized management source. In a peer-to-peer network, all computers are considered equal. They all have the same abilities to use the resource available on the network. Peer-to-peer networks are designed primarily for the small to medium local area networks. Nearly all the modern desktops Operating systems such as Macintosh, OS, Linux, and Windows can function as peer-to-peer network operating systems. Peer-to-peer network operating systems advantages are less initial expense because everybody has its own device, so no need of for a dedicated server. Set up an operating system such as Windows XP already in place may only need to be reconfigured for peer-to-peer operations. So any new operating system is not required. They can use their options in their available operating systems to set peer-to-peer network sharing. Disadvantage of peer-to-peer network is decentralized. There's not a centralized, no central repository for files and applications management. Security do not provide the security available on client server network. So more risk or the devices are more vulnerable or risk having risk towards the viruses. Client server, because there is no any specific firewall. Client server network operating system allows the network to centralize functions and applications in one or more dedicated file servers. So you can see there is a one dedicated file server through which all other devices are connected and controlled using the policies and procedures maintained on the file server. The file server becomes the heart of the system, providing access to the resource and providing security. Individual workstation clients have access to the resource available on the file server. The network operating system provides the mechanism to integrate all the components of the network and allow multiple users simultaneously share the same resource irrespective of physical location. Unix or Linux and the Microsoft family of Windows Server are example of client server network operating systems. Advantages of client server network: centralized resources and data security are controlled through the server. Scalability: any or all elements can be replaced individually as needs increase. So it is scalable, flexible, centralized. New technology can be easily integrated into the system. Interoperability: all components work together. Client, network, server. Accessibility: server can be accessed remotely across multiple platforms. So these are some benefits using centralized system. Disadvantage of client server network: expensive, as we need high speed dedicated servers. Requires initial investment in dedicated server. Maintenance: large network will require a staff to ensure efficient operations. If there is some server shut if a server shut down or there is any other issue regarding to the server, so we need a particular person, well technically sound person who can work smoothly on the in order to maintain the network server or the server of which is controlling all the devices. Dependence: when a server goes down, as I have discussed, operation will keys across the network. So for that we need a particular staff so that he can now he can maintain the server and server is not going goes down, it remains up so that people can people can easily perform their works without any type of shutdown. Network operating system software: the following are some of the most popular peer-to-peer and client-server network operating system in Macintosh operating system X, Microsoft Windows servers, different I can say different Version of Microsoft Windows Server available 2003, 2008, 2012, and so on. Unix or Linux. So this is our lecture.